So Leslie, it's 1 o'clock on the dot. Do you want to go ahead and get started?
I think we can. We have a couple that are not coming, and Josiah may come in a little late, but I think we're okay to start.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. I am Karen Ball Johnson from Memphis. I serve the West region. So just hello to all of you all who don't know who I am. And if there's anyone new on the call, hello. We're going to get started with introduction of the council members. I believe we have one new person. Is that correct, Leslie?
Yes, we have a special visitor today.
Okay, great. Good deal. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with introductions and we'll start with that special visitor.
I'm assuming I'm the special visitor.
Yeah, go ahead, Billy.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Billy Kingdollar, and I'm actually a fellow in the Governor's Veterans Fellowship Program. So I am a veteran. I'm about to retire from the Army after a 20-year career, and I am currently shadowing within the Tennessee Department of Education for the next 5 months, bouncing around department to department and just seeing what everything's all about. And today I'm hanging out with this fun bunch and seeing what this meeting's all about.
Okay, thank you and welcome. If you could just popcorn it to someone, we greatly appreciate that.
Popcorn Sharon Lindsay.
Thank you, Billy, and welcome, and thank you for your service. I'm Sharon Lindsay. I'm in East Tennessee. Currently, I'm the manager of IDEA data support with the state. But prior to that, I was an alternative school principal for 10 years. And prior to that, I was an alternative school teacher for about 15 and a special ed teacher on top of that. So thank you for having me. And I'm going to popcorn to Lee Ferris.
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Ferris. I'm a retired alternative school teacher. I also was former president of the Tennessee Alternative Education Association. And I guess my role is a citizen from not teacher, so, since I'm retired. Is that right, Leslie?
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, thank you. And I'll go to Scott.
All right. Good to see everyone again. Scott Indermill. I'm Senior Director of IDEA and Non-Traditional Education Programs, which is that NEP acronym that you hear so often in our world. Just so that's a little bit of history too, just to add to some of the new folks. I've been with the department going on 10 years, different roles from IDEA investigator to speech, language, and autism coordinator for the state. My background in education has started with being a speech and language pathologist in the schools, being a special education supervisor across 3 different states. We've bounced around a lot, but we've been in Tennessee going on 19 years now. So really like the experience I've had. I've had a lot of experience over my years in the schools working with students that are in alternative placement. So it's really fun to be at this level now, kind of working at putting out the TA and the PD across the state and working with Leslie and NEP around this work. So I will pass it over to Courtney.
Hello, everybody. My name is Courtney Boykin. I am an assistant counsel now within the Office of General Counsel, and I'm just here to support in any way that I can. And I will pass it to Chandrea.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chandrea Hersey. I am a senior associate counsel in the Office of General Counsel at the Department of Education. Courtney and I support the NEP team as their legal counsel. There are a few others that support as well. And I'm just excited to be here with you guys. I'm a former educator as well in the state of Tennessee and in the state of Mississippi. So always excited when I have an opportunity to connect with educators in this capacity. And I'm sorry, you guys, I'm muted without popcorning to anyone. So let me popcorn to Josiah.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Josiah Holland. I'm the director and principal of the Alternative Learning Center in Williamson County Schools, and also oversee the education of our students in our detention center. This is my 7th year in ALTED, though I've been in our district since 2001 in various roles, special ed teacher and on and on. But I've been on this council for a few years now, and always a joy and a pleasure to be here. So thank you for that. Who hasn't gone? Because I came on like, okay, I'm gonna pass it to Melita.
And I want you all to pass me. I want to be popcorn first. I'm always almost last. So my name is Melita Thomas. I am the director of the alternative school programs here in Shelby County Schools. I've been working in the alternative education field for 22 years. I know you're saying, how? You're so young. Well, it's possible. The kids keep you young. In my division, we have alternative school students. I have students who are over age for grade. We work with students that are incarcerated. We work with teen parents, and we have a child care center in one of our locations. And we also work with students new to the country. So we have a menu of students and programs here in Memphis Shelby County Schools, and I love working with those students. They're challenging, but I love it. Thank you.
I'm
I
Leslie
want popcorn
Watson.
to Brian.
Thank you. I'm Brian Douglas, Student Support Supervisor for Cocke County Schools. I supervise grades 5 through 12 alternative school called Three Rivers Learning Center. We have a K through 4, mostly autistic kid, small alternative program. I'm our ESL supervisor and homebound supervisor for the district.
Leslie Watson, and I am the Alternative Education Director for Tennessee, and I also work with neglected and delinquent programs. Before I came to this position last year, I spent 25 years in a facility that served neglected and delinquent children, so it's got a special place in my heart, and I really appreciate all of you for being part of this council. Karen, I'll turn it over to you for approval of those minutes.
All right, thank you. Did everyone get a copy of the minutes from the last meeting, the November 7th meeting? Okay, do we need a few minutes just to look over that before we approve them? We're good? All right, can we get a motion to approve the minutes? A motion and a second?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I'll second that.
All right, the minutes have been approved. Leslie, I will now turn it over to you for updates from the field.
Thank you, Karen. I'd like to do something today that we didn't do in our last meeting, but I'd like to give everybody a chance to speak on something that they feel is going well in their district with alternative ed, and maybe something that's presenting challenges. So we'll do a popcorn method for that too. And I will start with Melita first.
Leslie, that was a good one. So some things that are going well. I have really been working with our juvenile court department here in Memphis Shelby County and our sheriff department, working to enhance what we're doing inside of the jail or inside of the youth facility. I'm really trying to make it comprehensive, because my vision is to make sure that the students can graduate or leave with credits. Even though it is a short-term facility, I still want to be able to provide a comprehensive school inside of this location, and it's working out well. We really have stood up a lot of things within the past month, and I'm really happy to see the growth in that program. So I'm excited about that. Some challenges right now is my newcomers program. Students are, it's just kind of the staff is really sad, and a lot of things are going on inside of there, and it's really disheartening to see that the kids want to come to school, but they're scared. And so that's just something that has been challenging this for the past 2 weeks, just watching that. So that's what I would like to share.
Melita, on that, are you using an online program for credit accrual? Is that what you're using?
Yes, ma'am. We're trying to, the difficult part was trying to, it was the internet, because the students could get outside of the firewall.
Yes.
And it's not a school, so it is a juvenile detention center, and that I don't control the internet there, per se. And so I know we kind of talked about, what other school systems are using this or using an online platform for their detention centers, but trying to make sure that we can lock it down. And it just took a lot of work. It sounds so easy, but it's not, because it's not our school infrastructure. So
I can relate to that.
Yes, finally, I've finally got it locked down. So that's what we have.
Josiah, did you have a question?
I was just going to add, would they let you guys put school Wi-Fi in the detention center? Or does it have to be theirs?
Yeah, we got the school Wi-Fi started, but it was the laptops that had to be locked down.
I see.
Yeah. And that took a while, because you got to have IT of the school district and the IT of the sheriff department get together, and then it was a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
We struggled with that. We finally have a monitoring software called Securely that we can implement a lockdown browser on that. Yeah, they were trying to get on Facebook and Instagram and all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Securely, is that that's what
Securely is the one we use. You can monitor their screen and see what they see. And there's also a lockdown browser function on it. So that was finally the magic for us, because the judge was over it.
Yes. And then trying to get something like that approved, because we used to have one, but they wouldn't approve we had it, but the Shelby County wouldn't approve it. But I'll ask about that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Melita, who would you like to pass? Melita, I think you're muted.
Yeah. There we go. I'll pop out to Josiah, since he was already talking.
All right. Yeah, might as well keep going, huh? Okay, so things going well in Williamson County. Some really exciting news for us is that we've been in a bunch of different cycles of getting a new building since I started here at least 8 years ago. And so the ball is finally rolling. And so we have monthly meetings, and we just met with the design team again this morning. So we're about 2 years out from moving into a new building, which is really exciting. We're in about 3,500 square feet right now, working with about 250 kids a year. So we'll move into a space that's 10 times the size of what we have. So that's good. And it's going to meet our programming needs a lot more. The other thing I'm proud of right now is just some programming we're doing as an ALC. We're doing a weekly recovery group for kids who want us, who are interested in and want to find sobriety and maintain sobriety. It's an AA type group. A lot of our kids will get court ordered to go to therapy or IOP or treatment, and then they come back and those things kind of run their shelf life. And then the kids are back to using or running around with different kids without the community of sobriety that so many adults can find so easily with AA and NA. It's so much harder for teenagers to find something that's accessible and free. So we've started that, and it's been a real success. We've had a few kids stay every week, and it's kind of growing, and former students are coming back to it. So we're really proud of that, something we worked for a long time and was part of our strategic plan as a district, just because of the fentanyl crisis, and it affected us just like it does everybody. So teen recovery efforts are the big one, I guess, programming wise. And then we're doing community service with our students every month now on the weekends as a shared experience. And so that's been really beneficial and really powerful as we keep developing relationships with our kids. So I'm proud of our programming and where it is. Struggles, just nothing abnormal to Alt-Ed, all the regular struggles, right? But our numbers have been, I would say, down more than typical for a year. I don't know how everybody else is trending, but I wouldn't call that a struggle necessarily, but I think they're getting served pretty well in our schools. But that's kind of how we're doing over here. And I'll pass to Dr. Ball.
Okay, all right. So I am not in a traditional alternative school. I support those students who are in foster care, those students who are homeless, and those students who are from migratory backgrounds. I think what's really working for me now is with the changes here in our district, we were able to push a lot more supports to the schools, and also we've gain support, a lot more support from the schools in identifying and supporting the students that we serve. So that's going relatively well. In terms of challenges, like Melita stated, it's really sad here. Some of our schools have large populations of migrant students. So it's extremely sad. The areas that I cover, of course, we serve a lot of immigrant students as well. So just dealing with that and trying to make sure we can continue to provide them with education and the support that they need to remain connected to education. That's been a huge challenge for me. So that's all I have. I will popcorn it to Brian Douglas.
Thank you, Karen. Something I'm really proud of is that I feel like with SEL training and becoming a trauma-informed district, I think our staff has gotten much better at dealing with the trauma that the kids come in with. And I think that's helped us to be successful. And I think that's happened district-wide. Our offices where we've offered those trainings, and regular schools are managing these kids much more, but our school has begun kind of like extreme trauma central is kind of what our school's become quite a bit. Two challenges. One, talking about something that Karen talked about, is I'm also the ESL coordinator. We started ELPA 21 testing this week, and it has been a tough couple of weeks for these kids with the rumors they're hearing and that sort of thing about you work hard to establish a climate of safety, and we have your backs here, and a lot of that climate has been taken away. And I think also just the amount of trauma, severe trauma, just today, a couple of things that I've heard have been rather tough to push aside. I'll popcorn over to Lee.
All right. In our county, one of the good things is they was able to lower the amount of time students are there from, we used to be 180 all the way, and we had an incredible overcrowding. So now over the years, they brought it down to 90 days, and now we're at 55 days where the students can earn their way back. And it's possible for them to earn their way back with just 55 days. One of the challenges is still overcrowding, because the district is growing, so Rutherford County is growing so much, and so many new schools are popping up. We're looking at putting in a third alternative school, because the two we have isn't enough. So we're just growing, hitting the growing pain. And I'll popcorn to Sharon.
Thank you, Lee. I'm going to echo what Brian Douglas said with the trauma-informed practices. That is something that has really been a positive aspect in our alternative education programs, and just in general in education, just educators understanding how to respond to students that are in trauma. We're seeing so many more students just with so many more mental health issues. And I think that has just been such a positive effect on our alternative school population. And I think the thing that I know, the county that I just left back in the fall, they are still struggling, and I'm sure every county has this issue with the repeat offender rate. It's the same students over and over and over. They do their time, they go back. A lot of times they get in trouble just to come back. So we all know that. So just trying to find a solution for that is just an ongoing struggle. And I'll turn it back over to Leslie.
Thank you all for taking time to share that. It's really lovely to hear wonderful things. I mean, so often we focus on the things that need fixing, but it's great to celebrate successes too. I want to share our agenda, and the first item on there would be an update on those council reappointments. There were, I believe, 4 that expired in December. I have talked to the Office of Appointments. There is a delay in those reappointments, but the anticipation is that they will all be approved. He said that would happen after the legislative session. So we're probably looking at sometime late February or mid-March, but he did say that everyone can continue to serve until those happen. The next item is that ALTED survey, and I have all of the changes that we discussed in our last meeting have been made. The instrument's been tested, and let me pull this up and show you guys. I know several of you said you'd like to see what the survey looks like before it comes out, so I'm going to show you just a brief walkthrough of what it will look like this year. The major change on that first cover page is that you'll have an option to select if you contract with another system, or if another system contracts with you. So you would select those. And then there were several systems that are not required to provide services. So there's an opt-out for that as well, like Department of Corrections, DCS, or schools that only serve grades K through 6. So that is an option there. This would be completed by all LEAs that refer kids to alternative education, whether that be in their LEA or a different LEA. And this would be just the number of students served. There's no change there. The total number will auto-populate like it did last year for grades 1 through 5. And then these numbers are the same, but would be collected by schools that refer students, no matter if you contract or not. Then for this question, which is what a lot of LEAs called about, you would have an option to click this box. So schools that contract with another LEA were like, well, we don't have an alternative school because we contract with another. So now they can turn that box off. And I thought that would eliminate a lot of that confusion. The information provided is the same as it was. You would just simply be able to turn it off. Same with this. You wouldn't have these elements if you don't have the school, so you can turn that element off. And then all students, all LEAs that refer students will complete these sections. And the sections are the same. There is just, I just wanted to give the option to turn off sections that didn't apply. And then additional questions are the same. This last part, the required documents, there was not a transition plan template provided, but I'm hoping that that's what we're going to get together today, so that LEAs that don't have a current transition plan would have the option of using this one, or they could use one of their own creation. Does anyone have any questions about those changes to the survey? I'm working on the TA guide because that will look different, but once that's done, it should be good to go, and that will open on May 1st and close on June 30th this year, like we talked about in our last meeting. So hopefully that'll fix some of the issues with staff turnover.
So Leslie, I have one quick question.
Yes.
will this be an e-plan, or is this just an electronic survey that's going to be sent to all districts?
It will still be an e-plan under the data and information section.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to the transition plan development. Did anyone bring a transition plan today that they want to share? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Josiah, and let you share yours.
Okay, sure. Let me pull it up. I'll kind of walk you guys through it. Somebody mentioned recidivism and just having the same kids over and over. We've reduced our recidivism year to year pretty significantly down to where we only see the same kids, about 5 to 10% of our kids at this point, to where all the other ones are going to school and staying in school. One of the things we started when I came here was a transition meeting for kids who are going back. We had never done that as a district before. So we kind of formalized our transition plan. I attended all of them and did some of them in person and online. And now we've kind of trained the schools and principals we work with up to do them. So I don't go to as many as I used to, unless it is a kid who's returned to us or has other at-risk factors, or if they were with us a very long time, you know. But we put together this transition plan last year, and this is our second year using it. And it's been really, really good. Let me see if I can share my screen. Can y'all see that? Yeah, okay, so it's a 2-page plan. In the first page, you can see, we call it a transition and reentry plan. It just has basic student information, the best person to contact, the best phone number. Because we collect some grades that the kids, for classes that they take, and some of the classes they take, they do through their homeschool, such as their electives and honors and AP classes and things like that. We will write down their schedule, their current ALC grades that they're leaving with. We'll attach grade reports from our Skyward entity, and then we'll enter in what grades the kid currently has right here. And then we'll talk about credit recovery progress if they have credit recovery. We'll talk about any referrals or plans the kids have in place, whether we were referring them for testing, which often happens. It's our way of tracking child find. If they've got any kind of RTS services, or if we started anything like that. And then under work to make up, this is kind of the box that says, like, what do they need to do on day one? And what's the school going to do? What's the teachers going to do? What's the school counselor going to do? And we say that every kid will check in with all their teachers on day one and get caught back up to the pacing of their class. So we spend the first part of it talking about the academic side of how ALC went, and then what they need to do to transition back smoothly. If they're transitioning back like right before exam time in either the fall or spring, we'll offer for the kid to take our exam if they are being exited, so they can take the school's exam if they feel ready to, or if they've gotten a lot of instruction from us. We'll talk about sending our exams over and entering it into grade books and that sort of thing. Then the second page is what we call the non-academic plan and supports. And the first thing we'll talk about if there's any restrictions or orders from the court that are relevant to school reentry, including a lot of our kids have school search orders if they've been suspended for a school threat. Sometimes there's no contact orders with other kids in the school. So sometimes the school doesn't know those things unless we talk about it in the transition meeting. And then it gives the parent a chance to talk about what's going on in juvenile court, who their youth service officer is, and things like that. So it kind of connects the school and court in kind of a deeper way than it was. We talk about counseling, if they're getting counseling inside or outside of school, and if they are getting outside of school counseling, if we can get an ROI sign so the school can communicate with the outside counseling and therapist. And then just how frequent and all those kind of things for the school to know. We always do like a referral part here. I always refer our kids to visit either a school counselor or STARS counselor once a week for the first 2 to 3 months that they're back at school, and then they can make a case plan or a plan and see if they want to keep the counseling going. But it is part of the early release requirement that kids get regular counseling at school, so they're not just dumped back without any support, when usually at our schools, all of us they get a high level of support from the adults there. And then just anything else miscellaneous, we write down if they're involved in school clubs or sports and that kind of thing. And then we always end the meeting by saying, Roger Dinwiddie from STARS always talks about the web of five, and that if you have 5 people in your life to go to when you're happy, sad, mad, anxious, upset, you get good news or bad news, then just your mental health improves quite dramatically, having that web of support. So we'll ask students to identify 3 adults in the building they can check in with if they need something, or that they can just check in with for positive reasons. And if they know who those people are, we'll write them down. And if they don't know, we'll identify their school counselor, the STARS counselor's name, and the administrator assigned to them. And usually those people are invited to that transition meeting as well. So that's what we use.
I really love that you require the counseling check-ins after their discharge. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Josiah, are they having a transition meeting when they first come into the alternative school, or do you only do it at the end?
We only do it at the end. They do the suspension meeting at the beginning, of course, and meet with the family when they send them to us. And in the intake packet, there's a parent intake packet, and there's like a needs assessment we wrote down with some really open questions about what parents hope their kids get out of the experience, or what they think they need, or if this is like a pattern of behavior from them, or if it's something really surprising. And so we take that, and then we do an orientation with them, of course, and then we do a second orientation on their first day just with the kids. And then I'll encourage the parents to meet with one of us at the front end if they want to, but it hasn't been something we've required.
Does anyone
Josiah,
else
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to ask that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you get information about outside counseling and things like that on the second page of that form, are
Yeah.
you getting that information directly from the student, the parent, or are you utilizing an outside source for that?
We're just asking the parent in that reentry meeting, especially if it's something we don't know already.
Okay. And then my second question, how do the feeder schools respond to you all making the decision that they have to receive counseling upon return? Because I know a lot of schools do not like to be.
Oh, I've got a relationship with all 25 of the principals I work with, and they love it. And we talk openly in principal meetings about how to support these kids. So my fear was when I started that they would dislike the transition meetings and see it as another way to fill their schedule. But I was surprised that our district leaders were very grateful for it and find it very valuable. And what I hear from our principals often is that we have STARS counselors in every school, and some of them use their STARS counselors really well and have full caseloads and are busy all day long. And some of them are like, our counselors are sitting around without anything to do. So our people love the recommendation. And it also comes from the top down. Our assistant superintendent is pretty firm that if kids are earning an early release back to school, we don't need to just drop them into school and just hope they do well without a lot of intentionality and support. So we kind of see it as that in that spirit of MTSS, which is if they're getting this level of attention and support at an alternative school, how can we turn around and give them some level of support in a regular traditional school? Because otherwise you can't just expect them to go back to a school with 1,500 kids and everything just be perfectly fine. So the counselor becomes a big part of that. And it kind of, organically, it either dies off or becomes a really strong bond or a resource for the kid. But our principals appreciate the recommendation from us, I would say.
That's awesome to have that partnership and that support from your feeder schools, because everyone doesn't always have that. So that's great.
Yeah, that was the biggest goal I had my first, I would say, 2 or 3 years, was improving the reputation of the ALC and improving the relationship with the principals. And it wasn't easy. So I spent a majority of my time doing that. Some people really focus on community engagement, and mine was school partner engagement, because I feel like these are their kids, they're still their kids. So I thought if we could strengthen the relationship with them, then it would strengthen the kids' experience overall,
I think things like that Josiah is talking about, that sometimes it takes a little bit of time and you bring people in the fold a few at a time, just like the pulling out the SEL stuff. I think you get a few more disciples as time goes on, rather than drag people kicking and screaming in. That when people understand how important this is, it happens. So.
Does anyone else have an example they want to share today of a transition plan?
Leslie, I have one, but I'm having difficulties trying to download it for some reason. I think my laptop has been full. I'm working on my dissertation, so I got a lot going on this laptop. But I like what Josiah said. I would just like to add, we use a PASS program that just talks about the behavior of the students while they were with us. And the PASS stands for inappropriate behaviors, student needing assistance with interventions, if they had satisfactory progress, or they were successful at the school. Just kind of gives the school a snapshot of the student while we had them. And we also added the behavior intervention plans, the BIPs. We would include those while we work with those students, any types of strategies, intervention strategies used, and the person that was responsible for those interventions while the students were with us. And another piece is we have a school intervention plan. They call it SIP, which is like, why would they call it SIP, right? But throughout the district, the behavior specialist teams and guidance counselors have access to this. So if Josiah was expelled, you can go into this program and you can see, pull up Josiah and see all the interventions that occurred with Josiah while he was at whatever school. So it works in the alternative schools and traditional schools, so everyone can see what's going on with this student. What we've learned is some people want the transition, and then some people don't want the transition. Like you said, you have 25 principals, Josiah. I have hundreds of them, 111. And so I don't know them all. But if they want the transition, of course, we are going to walk them in and give them all the information. Some people just want you to email it to them. Some people want you to walk them right in. But then this program, everyone can see district-wide what's going on with that student. And we just keep tracking of what they're doing. And our behavior specialists within the alternative schools really work with that. I have a senior manager that manages that program with them to ensure that they're using it and using it well. And not just putting words to it, they're actually doing what's on the plan. So I wish I could share it. Maybe I'll send it out later if I can ever download it.
Is that a locally created plan, the SIP plan?
No, it's I'm gonna get the name of it. Student Intervention Platform, SIP.
Sounds really nice to have, especially in a big system like that. Okay, thank you for sharing your examples. And I'm going to pass this to Scott to talk about some of the requirements for transition planning.
Sure. And some of you may or may not know if you're involved with your LEA's results-based monitoring, which takes place through federal programs and oversight. This year during the 24-25 school year, in our level 3, which is the on-site monitoring, and level 2, which is happening right now, which is most aligned with what was called desktop monitoring a couple of years ago. We started to incorporate some monitoring questions around alternative education, trying to align some of the pieces that are required in State Board rule and statute. The one thing that we do require LEAs to upload when they're identified as level 2 or level 3 is a copy of their formal transition plans for alternative education. And again, as we build out results-based monitoring years to come, we're going to keep redefining that so we can keep communicating in a steady kind of TA platform with the LEAs. But the one thing that we definitely look for is do the formal transition plans address not only students returning to their home school, but as in statute and state board rule require, there also has to be a formal transition plan for when students are transferring to and being placed in an alternative education placement. They can look the same, they can look different, they can be part of the same form, they can be separate forms, but there has to be that level of communication that is involved with that sending school, regardless if it's the home school to the alternative school, if it's the alternative school back to the home school, like Josiah shared in his document. So that's one thing when Leslie started putting together a template for potentially something this council could build out and be available to LEAs across the state, or they could even compare this template to their own template and figure out, okay, maybe we need to make some changes. So I think she's going to share with you what she put together as a one-piece document, meaning that an LEA could use this sending to the alternative school or when the student comes back to the home school as well. I think this is a perfect opportunity for this council to really build out this really strong template that covers all the different pieces that are required in statute and state board rule. And of course, you know, we have our friends with the OGC here to help us as well. So when any final product is put out there for all the LEAs to possibly use and to add into something, that it really does truly meet what's required for, especially around the formal transition plan. But I just want to kind of like put that in as a transition statement while Leslie shares out the template that she created.
Okay, we just started with this reference to state board rule here that states that each LEA will develop and implement formal transition plans for the integration of students from traditional to alternative and from alternative back to traditional. And I felt like it would be so much easier on LEAs to just use one form instead of having two separate forms, but I'm open to any input as we go through these pieces. Oh, let me share this. This would help. Can you see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So we're starting with just that blanket statement around state board rule. This portion is just basic background, name, grade of student, the district and sending school, placement and discharge. So you would add the date that they're placed in alternative school, and then you would add their discharge when they're leaving. The name of the alternative school, and then the name of the returning traditional school. This is to mark any special needs that they may have, like 504, IEP, ELL, health plan, safety plan, or anything that I didn't think of there. A section for the goals to be addressed in the alternative school or at their return to their regular school placement following alternative school. A list of all the needs that they would have. This could be courses like you outlined in yours, Josiah, academic needs, behavior supports. Suggestions for success in alternative school, which is what you were talking about, Melita, when you could see all the interventions that had helped in their previous school settings. Course completion concerns, because sometimes a kid will come into an alternative school and be partway through a credit recovery, or maybe the alternative school didn't add the credit recovery credit to their transcript. So any issues that you have, like maybe they're 75% done, you want to make sure they finish. This is something I didn't see on very many, if any, alternative transition plans when I reviewed the ones that were submitted last year, and that was graduation goals and post-secondary goals. So really like to add something there. And then follow up for that student, like Josiah, in your case, it's wonderful that they're checking in with someone, but I think a lot of LEAs are not having that follow up. They do the transition form, they go back to their school, and there's not really a follow up. Also, an important add here that Scott brought up that we also have to respect the IEP process, that this would not supersede anything that's outlined by that. And then signatures for the transition team. So I'll take this back up to the top and we can look at it piece by piece. And if there's anything that you have questions about or think we need to add, I'm looking for any input.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think at the initial look here, I know everyone probably needs to chew on it, look at it, read through it, compare it to statute and to rule a little bit. So I think, Leslie will kind of gather some overarching thoughts about this. And then I'm sure she'll send it out for feedback and comments. And then I think this can just be a document and template that the council, you guys can continue to kind of develop, redevelop, develop until you feel like you have a final product, along with our Office of General Counsel for legal review as well.
I would like to say that I'd like to have the final one ready for presentation by May 1st, because I want it to be in ePlan as a template when that opens on May 1st. So I'll need a window to get that through comms approval.
Leslie, was there a place on there? Can you scroll down just a little bit? Was there a place on there to put exiting information? I mean, it looks like most of it is incoming information rather than the outgoing.
At the top, I thought they could add the discharge date and then the school they'll attend, and then this would have goals incoming and outgoing for goals, and we could separate them. I could even make maybe 2 columns there where it makes it more clear to a district, and we could actually do that for all of these. Like maybe we could.
For example, on the credit recovery portion, if you will scroll to that, I think you had a box for credit recovery.
I think it's the course completion concerns.
Yeah. That's the only thing that's just right off the bat that I'm seeing, is that maybe there needs to be a little bit more information about the outgoing courses that were completed, maybe the grade that they earned. I know I had an exit form that really wasn't an official transition form, but it was just something that I created that just had some basic exit information with everything that they had done as far as credit recovery, their traditional courses, just quick behavior notes, nothing, too detailed, just a quick statement of their behavior and attendance. Those are things that I always included when I was returning a student.
Okay. Yeah, I think we could easily add that in there. And I do like the idea of separating this to sending and then receiving. So maybe I'll make that more clear here and just make 2 columns for that. Karen, did you have a question?
Yeah, just wanted to ask the team just to consider this. If there are severe behavior needs, could you also request that a behavior intervention plan be attached to that form? Because, when I was an alternative school principal, students would leave us and go back to the school setting, and within the next 30 days, they would be trying to suspend them again for 180 days. And my question was always, did you implement a behavior intervention plan? So just something for the team to consider, if there are severe behaviors, would that be something that would be helpful for, I guess, addressing recidivism maybe?
Andrea, could we require them to have a BIP, or I'm sure we can require them to attach it if they have one. I'm not sure if we can require them to develop one.
To develop a BIP, I think we'd have to think about the student's particular needs. So if it is a student with an IEP, we definitely want to be sure that we are aligning it with any requirements of under IDEA and using it only if it's necessary for that particular student. But if there's an opportunity to think about some kind of alternative like VIP document, maybe an informal behavior plan. I'm just trying to think about what other ways something else could be attached, or just some additional space as well, Leslie, on the document for behavior information.
I agree, because we receive several kids a year who are just here for academic help or a little emotional support help. And so a behavior plan isn't always necessary for all kids.
Leslie, I have a question. First of all,
Yeah.
I love it. Good job.
Thank you. I reviewed all of the ones that were submitted for the state and tried to put all the elements in there.
Yes, ma'am. But one of my concerns is, because I have a lot of students,
Yes.
would it be advantageous to have like drop down menus for like where it says list all academic needs? Could you put like some academic needs language where you can just check off, and if you want to put other, they can list other if it's not listed, like when you go to the doctor's office, check all that apply.
I think we can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Can you guys throw some ideas at me? Like, okay, let's start with academic needs, like things that you've encountered, and I'll just start making a list.
Like overage for grade,
Okay.
below grade level. Well, I guess it's the same thing. I'll just throw overage for grade out there.
Or maybe they might need end of course testing or ACT testing, things like that.
Yes. Things for graduation needs. What's it? The ASVAB, the test, ACT, the civics.
Yes.
But I mean, I don't know. They may be just going to there may be a whole lot of stuff.
Yes.
Maybe that's not what you're asking for, but
Credit recovery, credit accrual.
Because I want to address as many things if we do it in a list form where we cover almost all the bases. I want to make it easy for an LEA, not something they dread or feel like it's adding a lot of work.
and I just had a conversation with my behavior specialist. They already overwhelmed, right?
Yes.
So 'cause that's gonna live with them. But I mean, I can send you some. I mean, I can't think of everything off the top of my head, but I
Yes.
can send you a list of things for all your
That would be
categories.
great.
Yes, ma'am.
That would be great.
Would supports in place be appropriate for that? Like some of our kids will leave and they'll have emotional health support that goes back to
Yes.
school with them.
Yes. And those counseling referrals.
Yes.
And we could also put the behavior, we can make comments about the behavior there, Karen. Under behavioral supports, we could add that.
That's great.
Okay. This, we could probably add a list to suggestions for success and alternative program. We could add a list and then have a comment section if it's something outside that list. Is a list better for most of you? You feel like that's more beneficial than a narrative?
I would say narrative more than a drop-down list, just because everybody is so unique. But in large districts, I can see where it would be needed to maybe have those drop-down. I mean, if they have a high volume of students, it's different than a small school. Can it be both?
You can do both. Yeah, that's what I was going
Yep,
to suggest.
I think so.
Yeah. Mhm.
Course completion concerns, and that really would be those credit recovery or online courses that they're like right in the middle of. So I don't think we need a list there. Graduation goals. I think that one, I don't think we need a list there. And well, no, we could put civics exam, ACT exam, we could put those. And then post-secondary goals. This part I really struggled with, this follow-up for returning students for exactly the reason, Lindsay, Sharon, that you said not all receiving schools will want to do this part. It is part of the requirements that you track them after they leave, and it doesn't specify the times. Like it could be one time, and probably a lot of times it is one time or no times. So I'm not really sure that this is the best way to do it. Any thoughts on that?
I like the way that you have it. The only other, I think, maybe possible way to do it is just to do another narrative box without including the date, person responsible, and follow-up. Just make it a narrative. But I do like the fact that we're holding other people accountable. I like that.
I agree with Sharon, because I think a big component of alternative education is that I know we tell every kid, here's who you go to if you're struggling. And we're small enough that that's not hard to find those few people. And as you go to a larger school, I found that that would be rather important, that they've got somebody if they're having a tough day or a big concern.
I do love that idea of assigning them a safe person to contact. The biggest issue I have is that some schools are not gonna do that. Let's talk about who we think should be part of this transition team. These Scott and I went over this earlier, and this is what we've come up with so far, but there may be people that we've not considered.
I think just to have an other box possibly, so that like if someone's DCS counselor or someone's
Yes.
youth villages worker is present for that meeting, might be applicable.
Good point. Are there other things that you can think of that should be on this form that I've not thought of? Okay, I'm going to leave it open for emails of anything that you want added to it that you might think of later that you can send me. And before I ever send it up for comms approval, I'll share this one with you, and then any ideas or changes, I'll share those with you too, because I definitely want it to be a group effort for this. So I'll definitely share this with you, and if something triggers later, just send it to me anytime. And get back to my agenda here. Okay, that was the biggest portion of it. And looking ahead, I know one of the things that this council did was an alternative school recognition program, and thinking about not this year, of course, but next year, if that's something that the council would like to look at. And I would probably need help from people that have served on the council to design what that looks like and how that works. I also was looking for a list of topics that we should work on as a council moving forward. We've redesigned this survey now. We will hopefully have a transition plan by May 1st for all LEAs to use. What are the big things that you think we should be focusing on? Yes, Melita.
So I don't know if anybody else is dealing with this, but one thing I've been concerned about lately is when students have disciplinary issues inside of an alternative schools, and then they're constantly, their behavior is not getting any better. I've moved them from one location to another, and then I run out of places for them to go. I'm looking at, of course, I do remote if needed, if I have to, but there have been a lot of safety issues that's been arising here that I've been dealing with. I can't put this one here because this one is here, and then it's a problem here. I move them here, or this happened. I don't even want to get all in the graphics, but there's been a lot of safety concerns that I've been dealing with, and I'm running out of places other than remote. And then I struggle with doing remote because now they're at home and I don't know what they're going to get into while they're at home. So I've been struggling with when you run out of time, when you run out of places to go, like when is the end? I've been struggling with that. So not sure if anybody else has to deal with that, but that's what I'm dealing with.
I think that's a tough call. I've ran into those kind of situations a few times lately, and it's never an easy call. We actually expelled a kid, the first one we have in years, just because we'd run the gamut of everything, and it ended up probably a residential placement. Working with the juvenile court was the best thing in some cases. I know those are tough because we like to have our eyes on these kids ourselves, but there are a few people who make it hard for the other kids to be safe and to be successful in any program.
That was an increasing concern for me as well, Melita, just running out of options. And I really had a love-hate relationship with the remote choice because I'm like you. I just felt like that we lost a lot of supervision and control, and I was concerned about what the students would be doing during the school day. But I developed a policy, and I had parents sign the policy that they would supervise their children during the school day, and laid out some parameters of who they were to contact if they needed help and things like that. But sometimes that is your only choice, unfortunately.
And I don't know how to develop PD around that because it is so unique. Each situation is so unique. And you may be dealing with kids that are already court involved or kids that are not. And it becomes a safety risk sometimes. So yeah, that's a tough one.
I think to build a good team of people like from different community components, that sometimes you can put your head together and do the best you can in those situations, because those are difficult things. And I think exactly like I had a kid recently who was purposefully trying to do things to be made remote. And we knew that wasn't a good situation because parents work all day, and we knew that kid didn't want to be supervised by adults. So it's tough.
Are there any aside from that difficulty in students that are not compliant with the alternative setting? Are there other areas of PD that you think LEAs would benefit from that we could work on? I know that we're going to have to develop some around this new transition plan.
I think of that part just like reducing recidivism, how to strengthen what role we can take as a district. I mean, my viewpoint's just always been that I'm an extension of every admin team that sends the kids here. I don't see our ALC as an island. I see it as a resource, which is a different kind of mindset. And I always tell our principals that. So, like, how do you strengthen the kids' experience back at a home school where they're not as attuned or even concerned, not because they don't care, but because they have 1,000 other things to focus on. And a lot of the kids with a lot of the needs, but how do you kind of strengthen communities of support back at the traditional school and what kind of role we can take in it? I think that'd be helpful. We still struggle with it, right? So I think reducing recidivism is the big question.
Lee, did you have something to share?
Yes, ma'am. Talking about behavior, I was thinking about some of the students that have IEPs and that they should have been checked with the alternative school to see what can be actually be supplied and how they can support it instead of just going on with a 2 or 3 page IEP saying, oh, they can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. That the alternative school should have some say during that little transition meeting or whatever it is on redoing a temporary IEP. And I don't know if that's even possible.
Scott, can you speak to that
Yeah,
one?
yeah, I can definitely speak to the IDA perspective. I think we all know that IEPs aren't driven by the like physical location like an alt school. I mean, the needs still have to meet, but these IEP teams, as this transition plan is happening, even from a traditional school to an alternative school, these are some of the communications that have to take place, right? They have to have if they feel like this IEP cannot be fully implemented, and there's certain factors that come into play when addressing, is LRE the same, or is it going to be different moving from that traditional setting where that IEP was implemented to this alternative program or school? So these teams are obligated to meet to have those discussions if there's going to be a change in LRE. So yeah, you're right, Lee, that there has to be conversations, there has to be team meetings. If anything, any tiny amount of that IEP can't be implemented exactly as that IEP was implemented, that team's going to have to meet and they're going to have to talk about, okay, like this student's in this other placement. We're not developing the IEP based on the fact that they're in alternative education. We just have to consider how can we implement it potentially differently, but still meet the educational needs of the student.
All right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, and those were all of the agenda items. I want to share the TAEA conference is scheduled, and I've added in the files here the registration for that. It's going to be at Springfield High School, and it is in July. That flyer is in the files for this meeting. And they don't have an agenda set up yet. This is all the information that I have for it.
Yes, ma'am. We're currently working on the agenda. And we're looking for speakers. Someone
I shared it to all of the alternative education directors across the state. So hopefully you'll have some people interested.
Great. And some ladies with the council, would one of you be able to come and do a little presentation like on what's going on in this, what they can and cannot do in alternative school or school law that supports the SPED students? Or
yeah, I think, and I'll just jump in for the OGC here. I think what I've been taking notes on regarding the council is PD or TA around formal transition plans. And again, that is not developed yet, as kind of Leslie was saying. Not sure if that is something we would do the full presentation at possibly at this summer ed camp, or just touch upon it. Also looking at, like you said, Lee, the overarching like statute and rules, what cannot be implemented, how it can be implemented. What does it look like? What can it look like when you're providing alternative education placement services? And also, like I think what Josiah said, something about recidivism, some pieces to that. I think there could potentially be a smaller overarching presentation, again, depending on how long these sessions are going to be, Lee. I think those 4 things that Leslie and I will start to develop, and our Office of General Counsel will definitely review for legal purposes and comms. I think that's going to be very extensive, and we're going to have to reach all the LEAs across the state with that PD. But I think that's a conversation Leslie and I will have, and we'll definitely get back to you, Lee, as soon as possible.
Great, thank you.
Our next meeting is scheduled for May 1st, and that's our final one of this year. And I just want to thank all of you for being part of this council. I know that we got off to a late start, but I'm so grateful to have all of you serving. Does anyone have any final thoughts they want to add?
Something that we have done in the past at the conference is that there's been like a round table of this committee folks who, you know, other alternative programs could come and ask questions and, you know, and about how they do things, and allowed us to respond to some of those questions they might have, or that sort of thing.
Do we have any idea of who else will be at the conference?
I'm actually going to be reaching out to Craig Boykin. He's from GED to PhD, has a couple books published. He's a solid speaker, does a lot of national work. And also Robert Piotron. He's with DNA Solutions. And he does a lot of that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Of the people on the council, is anybody else registered to attend? I'm not sure if we have enough attending to have a roundtable, but it's a possibility.
Some from our team plan too.
Okay. I'll be there.
I plan to be there.
All right.
That may be something.
I will
that we
try to
just-
come as well. I'm sorry, I'll try and come as well.
Okay. Then that might be an option. We'll talk further about it, and I'll send out an email to get the interest for that. Scott, do you have anything else that we should address?
I don't think anything else to address specifically. I do like the conversation about TA and PD that I think this council can help kind of put a skeleton to for us as a department to share out. I know that the Office of General, like I said, would be happy to join us. I'd be there too as well, and Leslie over a presentation around like TCA and State Board rule about alternative education, you know, just because I know there's been some updates in 2024, so it may be good to just kind of summarize it and have that ability to for individuals attending to ask questions, share some concerns, but I think we could do an overarching presentation about around TCA and State Board rule.
Okay, well, thank you all for joining, and I'll share all of those files in this meeting group, okay? Thank you guys, and have a good day.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a great
you.
day.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.